Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are calibrating our instruments for a very specific and, frankly, a wildly under-discussed date in music history.
Oh, I like this.
We are traveling back to December 4th, 2001.
A fascinating moment in time. The world was changing so rapidly in late 2001, and, so was the landscape of hip-hop.
Exactly. And the artifact we are pulling out of the archives today is Mack 10's fifth studio album, Bang or Ball.
Yes.
Now, if you're just skimming the surface of history, this might look like just another release in a busy year, but when you peel back the layers,
Which is what we do here.
which is exactly our mission today, you realize this isn't just an album, it's a collision.
It's a geological event. That's the best way to put it. I mean, imagine a map of hip-hop geography in the year 2001.
Right.
On the left coast, you have this solidified, concrete-heavy fortress of West Coast gangster rap.
Right. Khaki suits, lowriders, Chuck Taylors.
In a very specific, menacing funk tempo. Then, down at the bottom of the map, exploding out of the swamps of Louisiana, you have the shiny, platinum-plated hyperspeed bounce of the Dirty South.
Specifically, the Cash Money Records empire in New Orleans.
The Empire. These are two completely distinct tectonic plates. Usually they exist independently.
Oh, completely. They have different dress codes, different slang, and fundamentally different beats per minute.
Precisely. But on this album, those two plates just slammed into each other. You have Mack 10, real name Dedrick Rollison, a guy synonymous with Inglewood with the Who Bangin' brand,
Right.
suddenly rocking a Cash Money chain and rapping over Manny Fresh production. It was jarring for some people.
So our goal today is a forensic examination of this specific cultural experiment. We aren't just reviewing the tracks, we are dissecting the personnel.
Every single person.
We are going to do a detailed biographical lie at every single artist involved in this project because the liner notes of Bang or Ball read like a fantasy draft of hip-hop legends from 2001.
And we have to start with the business context, right? Because you can't understand the art here without understanding the deal.
Oh, that's a great point. The label situation.
This album was released through Cash Money Records with distribution via Universal Records.
That's a huge detail. I mean, in 2001, Cash Money wasn't just a label, they were a juggernaut.
They were the most profitable independent force in rap. I mean, the Williams brothers, Birdman, and Slim had secured that $30 million distribution deal with Universal.
A legendary deal.
They were reshaping the sound of radio. And Mack 10, despite his veteran status, he was looking at the landscape and seeing that the West Coast dominance of the mid-90s was cooling off.
So this alignment with Cash Money was strategic.
It was a very strategic pivot. You could even call it a survival tactic.
An expansion tactic.
I would say it was an expansion tactic. You're right. Mack 10 has always been a businessman first, rapper second. By aligning his Who Bangin' imprint with Cash Money, he wasn't just getting beats. He was getting access to that universal distribution machine and the marketing budget of a label that was, it was essentially printing money at that point.
Let's look at the scoreboard, though. How did this experiment actually perform? It peaked at number 48 on the Billboard 200.
Which, to be fair, isn't a blockbuster number for someone who had gone platinum before. You're right.
Not a smash hit.
But, and this is the important part, if you look at the top R&B hip-hop albums chart, it hit number 4.
Okay, so that tells a different story.
It tells you the core audience, the streets, he showed up. They were interested. But the crossover pop audience, the ones buying Nelly or Eminem in 2001, they didn't quite know what to make of this hybrid.
It was too alien, maybe?
A little bit. It was a sound that didn't quite fit in either box perfectly.
So before we get into the sonic architecture, let's profile the protagonist. We need to understand who Dedrick Rollison was before December 2001.
Mack 10. The D to the E, D-R-I-C-K.
That's the one.
Born in Inglewood, California. By 2001, he was not a rookie. He was a certified veteran with a very, very specific reputation.
He burst onto the scene in '95 with his self-titled debut, Mack 10.
And that album was huge. Faux Life was an absolute anthem.
Everywhere.
It established him as the heir apparent to the street throne on the West Coast. Then he followed up with Based on a True Story in '97.
Then The Recipe in '98.
And The Paper Route in 2000. That is a remarkably consistent run. Basically an album every year or two.
He was a volume shooter. He kept the product moving,
Yeah, and you cannot mention Mack 10 without discussing his role in the supergroup West Side Connection.
Of course, the Holy Trinity.
The trio of Mack 10, Ice Cube, and WC. They defined the post-death row West Coast attitude. They were aggressive, they were unapologetic, and they demanded you bow down.
So going into Bang Ball, Mack 10 is bringing all that baggage, that specific Inglewood swing,
Right.
into a studio environment that's just completely dominated by the New Orleans bounce.
A completely different world. Which brings us to the sound. We call this section of our deep dive the architects.
Because the production credits on this album are just, they're absolutely wild.
It's a clash of philosophies.
Yeah.
It really is. You have three main names that shape this entire project. First, you have the Titan of the West, Dr. Dre.
The Doctor, Andre Ramel Young.
Born February 18, 1965 in Compton. By 2001, Dre he's arguably the most important figure in hip-hop production history.
No question.
And you have to look at his arc to understand why his presence on this album matters so much. He starts with world-class wrecking crews.
Sequins and all that.
Right. Then he transitions to NWA, where he helps invent gangsta rap. He co-founds Death Row Records with Suge Knight and the DOC in 1991.
And drops The Chronic in 92.
Which changes everything. It popularizes G-Funk, that synthesizer-based, slow, heavy rolling bass line. That is the sound Mack 10 was born into.
It's his native language.
It is. But by 2001, Dre had reinvented himself again with Aftermath Entertainment and the 2001 album. His sound had become cleaner, sharper, more orchestral.
And he contributes just one track to Bang or Ball. Right?
Just one. Track 2, Hate in Your Eyes.
But it's the anchor, isn't it? It's like the validation.
It's the cosign. It validates the whole project. It says, yes, Mack is down south now, but the West Coast DNA is still intact. I'm still here.
Okay, so that's one architect. But the heavy lifting, the actual sonic texture of the album that comes from the Cash Money architect, Manny Fresh.
The man with the golden ear. Real name, Byron Otto Thomas. Born March 20, 1969 in New Orleans.
A legend.
In 2001, Manny Fresh was a machine. Literal machine. He was one half of the big timers, but more importantly, he was the in-house producer for the entire label.
The whole thing.
He produced tracks 3 through 5, 7 through 9, 12, 13, and 16 through 18.
So the vast majority of the record.
It is the record. And Manny's style is so distinct. It's built on the Roland TR-808 drum machine, but he plays it with that distinctive New Orleans bounce.
The stuttering hi-hats.
The double-time hi-hats, synthesized brass sections, deep sub-bass. What's so fascinating on Bang or Ball is watching Manny Fresh try to adapt that frantic energy to Mack 10's slower, heavier flow.
So he's meeting him in the middle?
He created a hybrid sound. He's slowing down the bounce just enough so Mack could find a pocket in the beat. It's a masterful adjustment.
And there's a third name in the credits here, a keyboard wizard who kind of acts as a bridge between these two worlds.
Yes, Scott Storch.
Last Storch.
Scott Spencer Storch. Born December 16th, 1973 in Long Island, New York. This is such a crucial piece of the puzzle.
I feel like people forget his origins.
They do. Before 2001, Scott Storch started as a keyboard player with The Roots.
Which is organic, jazzy, live instrumentation hip-hop, a totally different universe.
A totally different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But Storch had this incredible melodic sensibility. He could just hear these hooks. And by 2001, he was Dr. Dre's secret weapon.
He was the guy behind the piano on Still DRE.
That's him. On Bang or Ball, he's credited with keyboards on Hate in Your Eyes. He brings that musical theory, that piano complexity, which really bridges the gap between the raw sampling of the 90s and the composed, polished sound of the 2000s.
Okay, so we have Dre, Manny, and Storch. But we should also shout out two other producers who added some crucial flavor to the album.
For sure. QD3 and Nephew.
QD3, that's Quincy Jones III.
The son of the legend, Quincy Jones.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting detail about him. He grew up in Sweden.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he brings a very structured, almost European pop sensibility to his production. He had worked with Tupac and Ice Cube before, so he was a familiar face for Mack 10.
Right, a trusted name.
And he produced track 14, Let It Be Known.
And Ron Nephew Feemster.
Thoronotis Feemster, an incredible musician. He's more of an R&B producer and keyboardist, so he brings a smoother, more melodic texture to the project.
What did he produce?
He produced Work, track 10. And these guys, QD III and Nephew, they provided a necessary break from the relentless energy of the Manny Fresh beats.
A little palate cleanser.
Exactly.
Okay, let's get into the music itself. We are moving into section 2, the singles and the hits. Because there are some choices here that, they just define the era's obsession with pop crossover.
Obsession is the right word. Let's talk about Hate in Your Eyes.
The Dr. Dre track, released September 3, 2001.
Now, let's look at the writing credits. This is where it gets good. You have Dedrick Rawlison, that's Mack 10. You have Andre Young, that's Dr. Dre.
And
then you have Barry, Maurice, and Robin Gibb.
the Bee Gees.
The Bee Gees.
The actual Bee Gees.
It is an explicit, undeniable interpolation of Stayin' Alive.
That's bold.
It's audacious. I mean, think about the context. Gangsta rap is usually about menacing bass lines and obscure funk samples from, like, a Parliament B-side.
Right.
To take the most famous, most recognizable disco song of all time, the anthem of Saturday Night Fever, and turn it into a street record.
It's a flex.
That is Dr. Dre flexing his pop sensibilities. It connects back to that P. Diddy era, where recognizable 80s samples were the cheat code for a hit.
It sounds insane on paper, but does it actually work?
Strangely, it really does. Dre strips away all the disco cheese, and he focuses on that iconic string melody and that driving bass line. He actually makes it sound menacing.
Which is incredible.
Hearing Mack 10's gruff, Inglewood swang over a Bee Gees melody is a contrast that just perfectly defines late 2001 hip-hop.
Then you have the other side of the coin. Track 3, Let the Thugs in the Club.
Featuring Lil Wayne and BG, produced by Manny Fresh. This track is the thesis statement of the entire album.
How so?
The sample. The sample is More Bounce to the Ounce by Zapp, written by Roger and Larry Troutman.
Which is the West Coast national anthem.
It is the holy grail of West Coast funk. If you are at a backyard barbecue in L.A., Zapp is playing. Period.
No question.
So Manny Fresh takes this quintessentially West Coast sample, but he puts it through the New Orleans filter. He adds his 808s, the snappy snares, and then he puts Lil Wayne and BG on it.
It's a geographical mashup.
It's a statement. It's Manny saying, I respect your culture, Mac, I get it, but I'm going to make it sound like my culture. It's a fascinating synthesis.
And we can't talk singles without discussing track 5, Connected for Life. This came out in November 2001.
This is the moment the diehard West Coast fans were waiting for.
The reunion.
A West Side Connection reunion. Mack 10, Ice Cube, and WC, all on a track together, produced by Manny Fresh.
And the sample, it feels like they're just doubling down here.
They're tripling down. The sample is an interpolation of Niggas for Life by NWA.
Wow. So they're bringing out all the sacred texts.
They had to. Mack 10 was probably very aware that signing to Cash Money looked suspicious to some West Coast purists.
Sure, they might have seen it as selling out or something.
Exactly. So on this track, they went as LA as possible with the references, with the NWA sample, while riding a Southern beat. It was a statement of identity. It was saying, we're still us, just with the new sound.
I want to pivot to the personnel now, because the guest list on Bang or Ball is staggering. It's like a yearbook of 2001 hip-hop.
It really is.
Let's start with the Cash Money roster.
You have to understand, in 2001, Cash Money was a tight-knit family unit. They moved as a pack. So if you signed Mack 10, you didn't just get Mack 10.
You get the whole team.
You got the whole team.
Let's start at the top then. The big timers.
Birdman and Manny Fresh. We've talked about Manny, but let's talk about Birdman.
Yeah.
Brian Williams, the #1 stunner.
The Birdman.
He wasn't a technically proficient rapper in the traditional sense, right?
No, you wouldn't say he was a lyrical miracle.
He was a vibe curator. That's the perfect term. He was the hype man, the CEO, the voice of opulence. He's featured heavily on tracks 4, 7, 9, 16, and 18.
So what's his role on these tracks?
His role was to remind the listener of the wealth, ad-libs about cars, ice, jets, put some respect on my name before that was even a thing.
Right.
It provided such a sharp contrast to Mack 10, whose lyrics were usually grounded in the grit of street survival. Birdman brought the fantasy, Mack brought the reality.
Then you have BG, the baby gangsta.
Christopher Dorsey, born September 3, 1980 in New Orleans. He was known as Doogie, or Gangsta D, coming up.
And a core member of the label.
By 2001, BG was a veteran, despite being only 21 years old. He was an original member of the Hot Boys.
And he's on Let the Thugs in the Club and Dog About It.
Right. And BG was the heart of the label. I mean, while Birdman was flashy, BG was gritty. He represented the struggles of the Magnolia Projects, the drug addiction issues that plagued the area.
He brought that authenticity.
He really did. His flow was slurred, heavy, and just dripping with that New Orleans humidity. He was the bridge between the bounce beat and the street struggle.
And then there's a young one, Lil Wayne.
Dwayne Michael Carter, Jr., born September 27th, 1982. Also known as Tenechi Wheezy Birdman Jr.
And listen, you have to mentally reset here. This is not the Lil Wayne of 2008 who is the biggest rock star on the planet.
Not at all. This is 2001 Lil Wayne.
Tell us about him.
He was 19 years old. He was still finding his adult voice. He had success with the Hot Boys, and his solo debut, Pie Block is Hot, but he was arguably the underdog of the crew at this specific moment. in terms of mainstream respect.
And he's just on the one track, let the thugs in the club.
Just the one. And what do you hear when you listen to his verse now?
It's just hunger.
Hunger. That's it. You hear him trying to prove he belongs on the track. He's rapping fast, trying to cram syllables in. He hasn't quite mastered that slow, metaphorical, alien flow he became famous for later.
It's a snapshot.
It's a snapshot of a legend in the developmental phase. It's fascinating.
We also have Turk on the album.
Tab Virgil Jr., born February 8th, 1981. Another Hot Boys member. He features on Murder, which is track 18, the last track.
What was his style?
Turk had a very unique, choppy flow that complemented the others perfectly. He had this staccato delivery that would just punch through the beat.
And some deeper cuts on the roster, Lack and Stone.
Yeah, these are names that might not be as familiar. Lack, real name Kedrick Moore, and Stone, real name Alvin Nelson.
Tell me about Stone.
Stone is an important figure to mention. He was a rapper from the Magnolia Projects who commanded a lot of respect on the street level. Tragically, he passed away in 2013.
Oh, wow.
But his feature on track 16, We Can Never Be Friends, is a testament to the depth of the Cash Money bench. It showed that Mack 10 didn't just record with the stars. He was in there recording with the soldiers.
So that's the New Orleans contingent. But Mack 10 brought his own cavalry with him.
He had to.
The West Coast legends.
He had to balance the scales. He couldn't just get absorbed into their world. He had to bring his world with him.
And you can't start that list with anyone but Ice Cube, O'Shea Jackson.
The Dawn. I mean, by 2001, Cube's discography was already legendary. America's Most Wanted, Death Certificate, The Predator.
He was a movie star by this point.
A massive Hollywood movie star.
Yeah.
But he still stepped into the booth for Connected for Life. His voice just provides a gravitas that anchors the track. If Cube is on your album, it's official. End of story.
And WC, the Dub C.
William Calhoun, formerly of low profile in WC in the Mad Circle.
An underrated technician.
Let's be real. WC is technically one of the most gifted rappers to ever touch a mic. His breath control, his intricate rhyme schemes, he is a pure technician.
So hearing him on a Manny Fresh beat must be interesting.
It's one of the most unique auditory experiences on the whole album. WC's flow is so precise, very staccato, almost military-like.
Right.
And Manny Fresh's beats are loose and bouncy and kind of swing all over the place. Hearing WC navigate that bounce is a masterclass in rhythm.
And we have to mention the hookmaster, Butch Cassidy.
Danny Elliott means the second from Long Beach.
And he was the cousin of the late, great Nate Dogg.
Yes, and you can hear it in the DNA, that soulful, church choir meets street corner baritone.
That G-Funk soul.
Exactly. Butch was the go-to hook man for Snoop Dogg and Ty Diaz. Having him on the hook for Connected for Life gave that classic G-Funk melodic structure that makes West Coast hip-hop so radio-friendly.
Okay, moving up the coast to the Bay Area, E40.
Charlie Hustle. Earl T. Stevens, born November 15, 1967 in Vallejo, California.
40 Water.
Founder of Sick White It Records. Founding member of The Click. The man who invented half the slang we still use today.
Literally, he's a walking glossary.
He is. He features on track 12, No Dick at All.
What an amazing title.
And E40's flow is just, it's elastic. He speeds up, he slows down, he raps off beat, then he snaps back on right when you think he's lost it.
So what happens when you put him next to Mack 10?
It creates this fantastic contrast. Because Mack 10 is very rigid and on beat, very direct. E40 is all over the place. It shows that the West Coast wasn't a monolith. The Bay Area had a completely different flavor than L.A.
And one more heavyweight from the West Xzibit.
X to the Z, Alvin Nathaniel Joyner, born September 18, 1974. Born in Detroit, but an L.A. staple.
He was a protege of Dr. Dre, right?
Yeah, Dre was overseeing his career post-1996, and he had just released Restless in 2000, which was a huge platinum album for him.
Pimp My Ride was still a few years away.
Still a few years away, yeah. He features on Let It Be Known. And Xzibit just brings that aggressive, bark-like delivery that cuts through any beat. He's pure energy.
But Mack 10 didn't stop at the West and the South. He reached out to the Midwest and Texas, too.
True. This is where the guest list gets even deeper. We have Scarface.
The King of the South. From Houston.
Brad Terrence Jordan. Born November 9, 1970, Houston, Texas. A member of the Ghetto Boys. I mean, Mr. Scarface is back, The Diary. These are foundational texts of hip-hop.
Required reading.
Absolutely. And he features on Let It Be Known, alongside Xzibit.
That pairing is intense. Xzibit and Scarface on the same track.
It's a lyrical onslaught. It feels less like a party record and more like a summit meeting of gangster rap veterans.
What does Scarface bring to it?
He brings that deep, introspective, almost tortured storytelling that he is so famous for. He adds a layer of psychological depth to the track.
And we have a couple lesser-known names who got a massive platform here. Mickey.
Mikkel Nance, a rapper from Chicago, Illinois, and he gets a surprising amount of placement on this album.
He does.
He's on So Serious, which is track 4, and Kingpin Dream, which is track 9. It really seemed like there was an initiative to push him at the time, maybe trying to capture that Midwest market.
And one more, Scoop Delania.
Alias Jimmy Tucker. He features on No Dick at All with E40. Another artist getting a big look on a major album.
Let's spend a moment on the writing and the actual construction of the album, section 6 of our outline, because when you look at the writing credits, you can really see the collaboration happening on paper.
Right. Take track 8, Do the Damn Thing. It was released as a single on December 11, 2001.
And the writers?
The writers listed are just Rawlison Mack 10 and Thomas Manny Fresh.
Just the two of them?
That's the core experiment right there. It's 5 minutes and 6 seconds of just Mack and Manny.
Yeah.
There are no features to hide behind.
It's a proof of concept.
It proves the concept works. Mack's straightforward, punchy storytelling rides the waves of Manny's production perfectly. It's the purest form of the album's mission.
Now, contrast that with So Serious, track 4.
That's a posse cut. The writers are Rawlison, Williams, which is Baby,
Birdman.
Nance, which is Mickey, and Thomas, Manny Fresh. You can just visualize the studio session, can't you?
Oh, yeah. Everyone in the room.
They were building these songs family style, getting everyone in the booth, passing the pad around. It sounds cohesive because they were actually together.
That's a huge point. This wasn't done over email.
Exactly. Mack 10 physically relocated to the Cash Money environment. He immersed himself in their culture. You could even hear him using New Orleans slang on an album. It wasn't a remote collaboration. It was a residency.
And Kingpin Dream, track 9.
The same group again, Rawlison, Nance, Williams, Thomas. And this track showcases Mack 10 adapting his storytelling. Usually his stories were very specific to Inglewood,
Very specific blocks, corners.
Right. But here, he's adapting to the Cash Money world of Kingpin Dreams. The opulence, the leather, the wood grain, the stunna shades. He broadened his thematic scope to fit the brand.
Let's touch on a couple others. Track 13, Mathematics.
Produced by Manny Fresh. Another perfect example of that bouncy, high-energy production meeting, Mack 10's grounded, heavy delivery.
And Work, track 10.
This one stands out because it's produced by Ron Nephew Feemster, and the writers are just Rawlison and Feemster.
It's another one-on-one collaboration.
Right. And this track breaks up the Manny Fresh marathon a bit. It's smoother, a bit more musical, and it gives the listener a breath before diving back into the bounce.
So we've looked at the artists, the producers, the tracks. Let's zoom out. What does this all mean? Why are we talking about Bang or Ball more than 20 years later?
It's a time capsule. It really is. It captures a fleeting moment where the tectonic plates of hip-hop were shifting. The West Coast dominance of the 90s was fading, and the Southern dominance was rising.
And this album sits right on the fault line.
Exactly on that fault line.
It was a prototype for a sound that could have been.
It was. It merged the bling-bling era production with West Coast gangsta rap lyricism. And it didn't necessarily start a massive trend. I mean, Mack 10 eventually went back to a more traditional independent route. Right.
But for 1 hour and 11 minutes in 2001, these two worlds coexisted on one record.
You could argue it paved the way for the barrier-free hip-hop we have today.
Absolutely. Today, it's nothing for A.P. Rocky in New York to sound like Houston. Drake in Toronto sounds like New Orleans. Bang or Ball was an early indicator that those regional sound barriers were starting to break down.
And listening to it now, the precision really stands out. Dr. Dre's production on Hate and Yo Eyes is so clean, so mixed to perfection.
It's surgical.
And you compare that to the raw, energetic, almost beautiful chaos of a Manny Fresh beat.
That's the joy of the album, hearing those distinct philosophies side by side on the same project. It's like a production masterclass.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave our listener with a final thought, a what if.
I love a good what if.
How different would West Coast rap have sounded if this alliance had continued? If Mack 10 had stayed with Cash Money? Or what if Westside Connection had done a full album with Manny Fresh producing? Wow. That is a provocative thought. Imagine WC's technical, precise rapping over Manny Fresh beats for a whole decade. It might have created a subgenre that we never got to see fully blossom.
It could have changed the whole trajectory.
A whole new branch on the tree of hip-hop.
So for the listener who wants to really understand this album, what's the homework assignment?
Put on some good headphones. Go to track 5, Connected for Life, and listen to the bass line. That is a Manny Fresh creation, but it feels like Dr. Dre. It has that weight.
Okay.
Then listen to how the hi-hats stutter. That's pure New Orleans bounce. Then listen to Ice Cube's voice come in. That is the perfect synthesis. That is what this entire album was trying to achieve, all in one song.
A fascinating collision of cultures, Mack 10's Bang or Ball, a forgotten gem, that really does deserve a respin.
Absolutely. It's a crucial piece of history.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep digging into the crates, and we'll catch you on the next one.